August. First day of August, Lammas Day and Feast of St. Ethelwold, monk, cook, and builder of the largest organ in England. This day, the church smelled much like the bread stall at a fair from all the fresh-baked loaves brought in thanks to God for the good harvest. Since I had no breakfast, the smells made my mouth water and my stomach rumble like an ox cart on a rutty road. After Mass, we feasted in the hall. Of the many dishes, my favorites were the eel pie and the ginger wafers. My least favorite was the swan's neck pudding. Second day of August, Feast of St. Sidwell, Virgin, who died when her jealous stepmother incited the reapers to behead her. In the meadow the other day, I noticed how the trees stand bowed over, looking like old men with heavy burdens on their backs, hunched with worry. But what might a tree worry about? Mayhap about the young birds who are born amidst its branches, and then fly out into the world where they could be caught by cats, stoned by boys, or snared and eaten, and never ever say goodbye. About hot, dry summers and thirsty roots that cannot call for water and are never offered beer. About whether its leaves will turn fiery shades of red and gold for all to admire, or just shrivel and drop, or be blown off by early wind and rain. About being cut down to make a house or a barn, or worse, siege weapons for war or a battering ram. About being chosen to hang a thief whose body would be left there to hang like putrid fruit, and no young girl would lie beneath its branches and look up and wonder? Would I could ask one. Fourth day of August, Feast of St. Sithne. God asked him to be the patron saint of girls, but Sithne said he'd rather be the patron of mad dogs, so he is. I like to think of him as my father's special saint. My father returned today unexpectedly. There was no supper to his liking, so he kicked at the dogs and slapped the servers and bellowed, "Sweet Satan, why am I cursed with a cook who labors long in the kitchen, yet produces nothing but farts and belches?" I thought it was quite funny, but I laughed behind my hand. All is quiet now. Ninth day of August, Feast of St. Romanus, Roman doorkeeper and martyr. My mother lies sore afflicted with a fever. I can write no more. 10th day of August, Feast of St. Lawrence, who was roasted over hot coals and now is the patron saint of cooks. Sometimes religion is as mysterious as love. Her fever still rages. 13th day of August, Feast of St. Cassian, a severe schoolmaster who was stabbed to death by his pupils with their pen nibs. I will add this to my list of ways for Shaggybeard to die. My mother is finally well, thanks be to God, and still carries the child. I might be made to marry by force, but I vow no one can make me have a child. Not only is it dangerous and uncomfortable, the child could grow into Robert, or Geoffrey, or Attila the Hun. The beast, my father, has been even beastlier these days when my mother lay ill, at least with me and Morwenna and the servants. He is like a lamb with my mother, or at least a dog or a squirrel or some other gentler beast. God's thumbs, when he does not roar, I do not know who he is, or just why I hate him. 15th day of August, Feast of St. Tarcisius, a Roman boy beaten to death with stones and clubs while protecting the holy bread. My mother has been ill again, and I have given over my days and most of my nights to nursing her. Sometimes I feel that she is the child and I the mother, as I bathe her face and sing her songs and cajole her into eating just a bit of this meat or that cheese. In 1 week, we go to Harringford to the fair, and for the first time I can remember, she will not be with us. 22nd day of August, Feast of St. Alexander of Alexandria, who died a martyr after suffering numerous agonies from scrapers and whips. It is Bartlemas Fair, easily the busiest and merriest days of the summer. After days of preparation, we left the manor gay and giddy and ready for play, and today we are here. Before I left her, my mother gave me 10 pence for spending. I bought her a string of jet beads, 3 pennies, a wooden whistle for Perkin, 2 pennies, a bone rattle for the baby coming, 1 penny, and 4 skins of parchment for my herbal, 4 pennies. In one morning, all my money gone. Still, I have yet to eat my fill of pork and pastries, cheer the fastest horse and the fleetest runners, wonder at the tumblers and magicians, laugh at the puppets and giants, and clap for every dancer and minstrel at the fair. We are at an inn tonight in a room with 7 people and 7,000 fleas. 23rd day of August, Feast of St. Tidful, killed by Saxons. I used to think the saddest sight in the world was an eagle I once saw in a baron's hall, wings clipped, chained to a perch from which it kept falling, flapping piteously until someone righted it again. But there is worse. Here at the fair is a dancing bear, moth-eaten and scrawny, anxious only to be taken home and fed and not prodded and pinched to do silly tricks for fairgoers. The performance I saw was so clumsy and sad and brought the bear's owner so little profit that he announced a bear baiting, planning to set a pack of dogs against the poor bear and see who cries and bleeds and dies first, all for the amusement of those wagering money on the outcome. How can we think ourselves made in the likeness of God when we act worse than beasts? Morena was pondering over willow bowls and iron pots. I argued with the bear's owner, trying to make him see the wrong in sacrificing a bear whose only crime is not wanting to dance for strangers. Finally, he said, grinning, he would sell me the bear and I could do what I wished with it. There is the pouch of silver from Shaggy Beard, but if I use it to save the bear, I am chained to both beasts. Spending the silver will mean my consent. It will be a promise to God. I can be sly and crafty and false with my father and my suitors, but I fear to fool with God. What can I do? 24th day of August, Feast of St. Bartholomew, Apostle, skinned alive, patron of butchers, skinners, tanners, leatherworkers, and bookbinders. Corpus bones! I have talked to every rich or poor, young or old, fat or scrawny merchant at the fair, trying to persuade them that a dancing bear would improve their business, increase their earnings, and bring them great renown. They laughed at me, pushed me, pinched me, tickled me, tried to kiss and fondle and even tumble me, but no one listened to me. No one wants the bear, but I cannot abandon him to the cruelty of men and dogs. The bear baiting is set for tomorrow. What am I to do? 25th day of August, Feast of St. Ebb, an abbess who allowed her nuns to spend their time weaving fine clothes, adorning themselves like brides, and neglecting vigils and prayers. Would I could find a nunnery like that. I have done it. I have promised a silver toothpick and half my pouch of silver in trade for the bear. I know that by accepting his gifts, I have accepted the giver, and I am Shaggy Beards. For the sake of the bear, I am resigned. Deuce help me, but what else could I do? The owner has agreed to keep him for 7 days while I fetch the silver from home and think on what to do with the bear. I would choose to let him live free in the woods and fields, but I know no village that would take kindly to a bear roaming its woods. Mayhap I can convince my father to keep him. He is gentle and good, the bear, not my father, and will hurt no one. He can sleep in the cow barn, and I will share my food with him. 26th day of August, Feast of St. Ninian, Apostle to the blue-painted Picts. We are home again. It dispirits me to think with what high hopes I went to the fair, and how I have come home bound to marry a stranger with a scraggy beard and meat caught between his teeth. I am dispirited, downcast, and dejected. I have asked everyone here to help me fetch and keep the bear. My father refused to talk about it. My mother turned pale. Morwenna humphed and scolded. Perkins sighed and looked the other way. I am surrounded by unfeeling dolts and idiots. Then the largest dolt and idiot of all joined in. Robert came home. He teased me, saying mayhap I could marry the bear since I seemed to like them big and hairy and stupid. The harvest is finished. The villagers brought in the last sheaf with their usual merriment, and the whole village joined us for a harvest supper in the hall. I had no appetite. Instead, I sulked and wept, slapped Morwenna and was slapped right back, kicked my father in the leg and peppercorn in her tail, and was sent from the hall in disgrace. My mother came later to my chamber and tried to talk gently to me about dignity and duty and obedience. She said I put her in mind of a beast in a cage, hurling and pounding its poor body against bars that will not give. I listened meekly, but my whole self shudders at the thought of belonging to the despicable Shaggy Beard. Thinking on it, I feel much like this bear. We can neither of us live alone and free and survive in this world, but we might wish for a cage less painful and confining. Deuce help us both. 27th day of August, Feast of St. Decuman, a Welsh monk beheaded while at prayer. William Stewart told me of an abbey west of here, whose abbess keeps a menagerie, lions and wolves and eagles. Would that she might take my bear! I begged William to ride to her, but he cannot leave the manor. Nor Perkin, nor Sim. My father will not. Thomas and Edward are away. Robert rode off this evening looking for mischief. I have only 5 days in which to solve this. 28th day of August, Feast of St. Augustine of Hippo, who was a rake and a drunkard before he was touched by God and became a saint and a writer of boring holy books. No one will help me. I argued again with my father. I said I would wed Shaggy Beard if he would keep the bear. He said I would wed Shaggy Beard and to hell with the bear. I stamped my feet. He cracked me. I said I was going to the abbey. He locked me in my chamber. God's thumbs, our every meeting ends the same way. 30th day of August, Feast of St. Fiaker, a hermit who hated women but loved plants. I am still locked away, still helpless. What will happen to the bear? 31st day of August, Feast of Saints Quenberga and Cuthberga, sisters and nuns. My mother has been here. She said, he whom you call abominable rode all night to the abbey by the sea. He charmed the abbess into taking your bear. They sent a wagon and 2 men to the fair. In thanks, Robert also gave the abbess silver, his own. You are to stay in your chamber and think on this. So the bear is safe, thanks to Robert. Robert? This is not the brother I know. I am confounded.